So much for all of you joining today. It's really a pleasure because, as a new twin mom, I know all the questions I had. So it's like kind of giving it back. So I am a holistic sleep coach, and my whole sleep coaching is based on holistic approach, and I'll tell you why it's important, especially why I'm so obsessed with that is because you will know that right now, even if you have younger babies, you will still know this, that sleep is never about sleep all the time. Sleep is affected with a lot of different factors, and that's why you have to see sleep very holistically and not just look at sleep. Because if it was so easy, we would not be here today. We would have just gone to Google, typed the question, got the answer, went to our babies, did that, and everything would be fine. But that's not what happens. We see that there are so many factors. It could be feeding. If you have any feeding issues, it could also kind of have some sleep issues together. Then there is developmental milestones, which is going on all the time. At least till 18 months, you will see your babies are growing so rapidly, not just physically, but also their brain is working so much because they're learning new skills. And whenever your baby is learning new skill, you will notice this. If not now, you will notice it later, that it will always affect the sleep, because their brain is doing a lot of work. They are learning something new, and then their brain wants to do it all the time, even during the night. And then comes nutrition, especially if you've started solids. That is also a major part. What are you feeding them? How are you feeding them? When are you feeding them? How much? How less? All of that, again, kind of matters when it comes to sleep. And then the regressions. There is always a regression going on. And it is, again, very much related to a developmental milestone which is going on. So this is very much connected with sleep. You might have routines and schedules and etc., but a regression hits, everything goes out of the window. And then teething. That's again something which is, it's always there. You are always blaming teething. It might be the reason, it might not be, but there is always something going on there. So sleep is a very, very holistic approach, and it's very important for you to know the basic of sleep biology, because it doesn't matter how old your child is or how old your children are, but once you know what is the basic of the sleep biology, you will understand how to tackle it much better. So I will start with, I have sent the blog. I just want to refer it back. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is sleep itself and what are the two factors which regulate sleep. One is the sleep pressure, which I talk a lot about. If I don't know if you follow me on my Instagram, but I talk a lot about that, which is sleep pressure. It's in a very, very simple term. It basically means the tiredness. The more you're awake, and it doesn't matter what age, even it works for us, that the more awake we are, the more tired we get. And the more tired we are, we fall asleep easily. Now, why age is such a huge factor when it comes to sleep pressure is because, let's say, a 2 month old baby will not be awake for 8 hours, will not be able to. Whereas a 2 years old baby or toddler will easily be awake for 6 hours, 7 hours, even 8 hours without having any problem. And that's why it's important that you kind of notice your child's cues. I will talk a lot about wake windows later. But right now, sleep pressure, why it's important is because if your babies are not tired, they will not sleep. And it's as simple as that. You can do whatever. It can be dark pitch room. You can be rocking them. You can do whatever. But if they're not tired, they're not going to sleep, because the sleep pressure needs to be high. Just imagine it's like a bottle, and then uh, sleep pressure is like water, and it has to be enough filled so that the child can fall asleep easily. Now, the problem is, if it's too much filled, it can lead to overtiredness, and that could some look like dysregulation. That means you will see a lot of crying, lot of fussing, arching their backs, Or some babies don't do all this. They do very weird things, something like they will become very overactive suddenly, or they will start hitting you, being aggressive. So it depends on each baby. They will not show the same cues, same overtired cues. Everyone thinks overtired means crying, but that's not true. There is different ways of showing overtiredness. So you have to really look at your baby, and you will know this after some experience. You will just know when they're showing this overtired cues. And when the sleep pressure is not high and it's less, what you will also see is, which is very similar and it's very confusing, is when you take your babies to the room, they start crying. And they will be completely fine when they were outside. But as soon as you go inside the room, they'll start crying and you will feel, oh my God, it's overtiredness, but not, it might not be. It might be they're giving you a communication that they're not tired, they don't want to sleep. So you have to have this kind of understanding of their communication, experiment a lot. I will again talk about the wake windows a bit later. Then the second regulator is melatonin. Melatonin is a sleep hormone which is present in our bodies, and during the evenings it's higher, so it's much easier to make them sleep during the night. It's not so difficult, but that is why naps can be quite a struggle because the melatonin is quite low, and it's also influenced with light. So if there is a lot of bright light, even during the evening and night, you will see your babies being really active, because for them, especially if they're newborn, they don't understand the difference between day and night. For them, it's all about the light, and their bodies are still getting used to all of these environmental factors. Okay, and then there are other two very important factors which influences sleep. One is circadian rhythm and one is cortisol. Rhythm is basically our body clock. So you will see that after a few months, your babies might poop at the same time, wake up at the same time, get hungry at the same time. Some babies can be really on the clock. And then some babies might not be, but then still you will see that everyone has this kind of body clock which is going on. We all get hungry at the same time, we all get sleepy at the same time. And routines help. I don't believe in very strict schedules, because especially with twins, it's very, very hard when you're really strict about it. But what helps is having a routine. Kind of routine could mean that, for example, after waking up, you do a small activity which could just be anything for your family, and that could be a routine. It could start like, it can be a routine, and you'll see your babies knowing exactly that, okay, after you wake up you do this. So it could be anything, but routines help to have that kind of build that circadian rhythm, especially if your babies don't have like any sort of routine. They wake up anytime every day, they don't sleep at the same time. It's If it's like that, then routines will be very, very helpful. And then cortisol. Cortisol is basically hormone which is present in all our bodies. And you will also see that there's also a lot of information like on the internet that cortisol means stress, but that's not the only way how it works. Basically, cortisol is a hormone which is regulated by circadian rhythm, which basically means that when it's during the day, our cortisol increases and it makes us really alert, because that's how we are built to. And when during the evening, the cortisol kind of slowly drops down, and we will slowly start getting calmed down, and we are sleepy by the evening and all of that. And there are other times when cortisol will peak, especially in baby, and that is when they are stressed. And it could be anything as simple as changing their diaper. For them, that is stress, or too much stress. So, but why is cortisol and sleep related? It's very important for you to know that cortisol in our body will tell us that it's a stressful situation. So, for example, let's say your baby is overtired and they're crying, crying, crying. What a lot of parents do, and I remember I used to do the same thing, that we are so stressed, we just want to take them and make them sleep. But when you're stressed as a human, you will never be able to sleep, because when you're stressed, your flight and fight mode is really high, and you want to kind of fight that stress, and you will not be able to rest, because rest will happen only when you're calm. So the next time when you see your baby being really, really um, overtired, really crying, arching their backs, first, you have to make the environment calm, and you have to be calm, deep breathing, and then first calm them down. Remember, babies will not be able to sleep when they're crying. It's just not possible for their physiological body to do that. If they're crying, their mind is telling them it's stress, 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 stress. Do not sleep now. So always make them calm and then you make them sleep. And how do you, so when you see your baby being really overtired, fussy, how do you co regulate? Because babies are able to take stress, but to a limit. They cannot take more than that. After that, they will need your help. And how do you do that? You can sing for them, you can sway them or rock them, you can bounce them on a yoga ball, you can make the room really dim. You can have a very, very calm, soothing music or a white noise in the background. You can have any song which maybe you were singing to them when you were pregnant. They can have all that. Really, they remember all these songs and they have that connection. And baby wearing, it really, really helps them. Some babies likes it, some babies don't like it, but you will know your baby. So if they like it, if they prefer that, it's always better to have them in the baby wear. It really helps them. And swaddling, if they are under 3 months, after that, I don't recommend swaddling because they need to have that reflex movement and all of those things. It's very important for their development. And then bath. Bath could help for some babies again. One of my twins never liked bath. So it is really depending on the baby. So you have to know that. And then let's talk about circadian rhythm. You would have noticed that, especially as newborns, that some babies will be sleeping all the day, and then when it's nighttime, they are completely awake. And that's when you say that basically their body clock is completely reversed. And what do? You can do some things. And remember, circadian rhythm is basically some factors which can help to build it is light, environment. These are very, very important factor how you can build the circadian rhythm. So for example, the first way to build the circadian rhythm is having a dramatic wake up in the morning. That's very important for them to know the difference between the night and the morning. And generally, I know for parents, we are so tired that we don't want to do those dramatic wake ups, but it's very important for the babies to know what's the difference. During the night, we were very quiet, we didn't have lights on, but when it's morning, you make the room brighter, you greet your baby, you wish them good morning, and remember, they understand everything. When you keep doing this every day, they have these connections and they will associate all of this very, very quickly than we can even imagine. And then having a consistent wake up time, I think this is such an important part because I have seen many parents, and I understand why, because they feel that babies have had a very rough night and they need extra sleep in the morning. But if you give them that extra sleep in the morning, it will be very difficult for you to have a sort of routine during the whole day, because if today they woke up at 8 a.m. and tomorrow they're waking up at 10 a.m., it's just for them, they just have no routine at all. So if you want to start a routine, the first step is to have a consistent wake up time, plus or minus 15 minutes, that's okay, but not more than that. And of course, you can't control your baby not waking up early. They can wake up early, and that's not something you can control. But if they are still sleeping past their wake up time, I would just give them extra 15 minutes and definitely wake them up. And then during the daytime, having really bright rooms, normal daytime activities, having sounds in the room, and not always be quiet. There is obviously an exception to that. If you have a baby who is very FOMO, which means they're very, very alert, they're very distracted, they will just not sleep if they see a tiny bit of light, then yes, dark pitch rooms will help. But it's not like a rule that every baby has to sleep in dark pitch rooms, because I see that a lot. And it really depends on your baby. Each baby are different. We know as twin moms that we know it. We see it firsthand that how even if they are twins, they are so different than each other. So it's always important that you look at your child, each child, and then see if it's important. It's not like a rule. that each of the, like, you have to have dark pitch rooms, you have to have sound machine, and only then they'll sleep. But if they are the kind of babies who get really distracted with the sound, they get really distracted with the light, then for sure do it, no problem. There's no no harm doing this. But what I don't like is having this really strict rules around sleep, because this can really stress out parents. And then, very again, one more very important thing is when it's evening, having that kind of environment which will kind of start showing them that it's evening time, which means dim lights. And if you have curtains, kind of close the curtains and just see if you not use a lot of bright lights, maybe a little bit, just slowly kind of fade out the lights so that they start understanding the difference. And that also means you not, and of course no screens, because then screens always hamper the melatonin, and that means the melatonin always decreases because of the blue light which comes from the screen. And then I know it's very hard when you're living with a lot of people, like a lot of family members, it's hard. But if you can just take them to a separate room to do this kind of calm down, and it doesn't have to be like the whole evening. I understand that it is not possible when you're living with, like a joint family. But if you maybe start doing this for 30 minutes before you start your bedtime routine, and take them to a room which is calm. Maybe you can't do that in the living room, that's okay, but just take them to a room where you can provide that kind of calm time, at least before you start your bedtime routine, is really, really important for them to just get that kind of transition. Because what happens is they are in the bright room, a lot of noise, a lot of things, exciting things happening, and then you suddenly take them and say, okay, now bedtime routine because we are done. And for them, they don't understand that switch. Babies, toddlers, they don't have it. So for them, they will start crying. And then what happens is, for parents, we don't know what's happening. Are they crying because they're really sleepy and they're really tired, which could be the reason? Or they're crying because they're not tired and they want to go back. That could also be the reason. So this calm down time really, really, really is very important. It can be really game changer for a lot of babies. And and then during the night wake ups, keep the interactions as low as possible. No playing with the babies, no white lights. Generally, red or yellow lights are fine, or the dim lights, you have these night lights, that is fine. But no bright lights, just so that they understand that it's still nighttime. And then, when again, you in the morning, when you do the dramatic wake up, it just really helps them to connect these dots and have these associations very quickly. And I wanted to, I don't know, I'll try to share the screen because I want to show you the sleep needs, which is very, very, very important, because I know parents have this doubt. Let me see, how do I share screen? Okay. Yeah. Okay. You can see, right? Okay, perfect. So, yeah, you see here, this is the newborn. This is infant 4 to 11 months and toddler 1 to 2 years. I'm going to just keep it till here. And you'll see this, and this is done by a National Sleep Foundation. This is a study which they have done to see what are the kind of sleep needs every age has. The orange one is a recommended age, which means generally it's recommended to have that kind of sleep. And this, you see the light orange or yellow color, whatever the color you can see, it is called as may be appropriate, which means it's not bad, but it may be appropriate because of the child itself. And then it's blue one is not recommended. Now, sorry. Okay, now 0 to 3 months, you will see that the actual may be appropriate starts from 11 to 19 hours, and the recommended range is 14 to 17 hours. And can you see the difference in the variation? The range is so different. That means a baby, a 3 months old baby, can be sleeping for 11 hours, and that might be appropriate for them. And then there might be other baby who's sleeping for 19 hours, and that's also appropriate. And there's 8 hours of gap in between. Someone is saying they can't see. Can you
Yeah,
see now?
wait. No, it's working. Not working.
No. Can you see now? Okay.
Okay.
So basically, and you will see all these ranges. So then you come to the infant part where it's 4 to 11 months, and then the recommended sleep is 12 hours to 15 hours. But then what is the appropriate sleep, which is 10 hours to 18 hours? What does this mean? This basically means that when someone you read, and the thing is, there is so much information on the internet that even now, as parent, it's very hard for me that to know what to trust, what not to trust, what is it is if I'm following this, should I do this? And then suddenly you see a completely contradicting information out there, and it's very very hard. But it's important that you see that there's already study made which tells us that yes, there is a recommended range of sleep, but then there's also maybe appropriate range, which means that every baby is different. They have different sleep needs. And how do you know? I will talk about that. But then basically, that means whenever you see people talking about your baby needs to sleep for 12 hours a night, that is the most biggest concept misconception, because that is just telling you that every baby in this world has to sleep that way, that has to sleep those many hours. And that's not true, because basically the study shows us that every child has very very different range of sleep, and the maximum can actually go up to 8 hours of difference, which means someone might be sleeping for 10 hours or someone might be sleeping in 18 for 18 hours, and both are healthy, both are normal. And this is in 24 hours. So some babies can actually sleep only 10 hours in 24 hours, and that's normal. Now, how do you know that? Because I know that's the question. Wait, I just want to stop sharing. Yes. Yeah. So that's one of the questions I always get. How do I know if my baby is sleeping enough? And the answer is that your baby will show it. What does that mean? That means that if your baby, let's say, is sleeping for 12 hours during the night, I'm not talking about the naps, just the night, and they're fine, no problem. They're waking up happily. They have normal night wake ups. That means maybe 3 to 4, depending on the age. I don't have very specific wake up times. It completely depends on the age. It completely depends if they're going through a milestone, etc., etc. But let's say you actually feel rested, even if they wake up, you feel rested because maybe they wake up, feed, go back to sleep, and you don't have any problems with that, and it's fine. And those 12 hours could are considered as normal for that baby. And you see them being happy. They are normally regulated, which means they are not really fussy all the time. Yes, normal fussiness is very normal in babies, but um, some babies can be fussy all the time, the whole day, and that means that they might be needing more sleep. And then there are some babies who will be sleeping less than 12 hours the night, but then they're still fine. They wake up happy, they're reaching their milestones, they are feeding well, they're eating well, they're growing, the weight is growing well. Your pediatrician is completely happy with their development. They have normal baby fussiness, which is obviously sometimes it's there, it's not there, but they're generally happy, cheerful, all of that, and it's fine, because sleep is not just about the numbers, it's also about what your baby is showing you. So always look. And also what I see is a lot of parents feel that the wake ups are also considered as no sleep, but that's not true. If your baby, if let's say you're changing your baby's diaper in the night and they're actually drowsy, I consider that as sleep. I don't calculate. So when I'm doing a sleep diary and I'm looking at my client's sleep diary, I don't consider that as a wake up. I consider a wake up when a baby wakes up and then at least for 30 minutes they are awake. Like minimum 30 minutes they have to be completely awake, active, doing something actively. But if they're feeding, they're rocking, you are changing their diapers, whatever, but they're still drowsy state, that is still sleep. Drowsy is still sleep. Light sleep stage is still sleep. So that's not considered as wake up. And a lot of times parents do this miscalculation where they feel those those wake ups are not considered as sleep, but that's not true. Okay. Yes. So basically, I did the how do you know your baby is sleeping? And next is basically with the sleep. No baby will be depriving themselves of sleep. I know we all feel that my baby should be sleeping more and they're not sleeping. Yes, that could be true. But generally, what happens is babies will never deprive themselves of sleep. There's no baby who's sleep deprived unless there is some underlying conditions. Like underlying conditions could be a feeding issue. For example, there is a lot of problems going on with feeding, and because of that they're hungry, and because of that they're not sleeping. Then you need a lactation consultant, for example. Or it could be, let's say, an allergy issue. A lot of times babies have allergies which is not diagnosed, and then they're crying all the time, they're not sleeping all the time, and parents just don't know. And then it's a lot of after a lot of checkups they understand that it's actually the allergy, it's not sleep. Sleep, just in sleep, generally babies will never sleep deprive themselves. There should be really something going on underneath, and that's why they will not be sleeping even if they're sleeping. Or it could be that the environment is not apt for them. So if you have a baby who's very sensitive to light, very sensitive to sound, then they need, no matter what anyone says, they might tell you that you are creating a bad habit, baby should be sleeping anywhere and everywhere, and etc etc etc. But that's not true. Even as adults we have this um we have, our own likings. We need calm room. Some of us cannot sleep when there's light. All of that, it also applies to babies as well. And that means if your baby is someone who's very sensitive to light, sound, etc etc, so just make sure that you're giving that environment, because it doesn't stay for a long. It will get better, better, better with age. And don't really listen to these things which is like, oh, they will always be needing a dark room, what will you do later? It doesn't matter. With age, it gets better. I saw there are some questions. Do I just go through that? Okay, okay, okay. Okay, so now this is very important. I want to share because again, a lot of misconception in the internet. So, what is baby normal sleep behavior, and why you need to know this? Because a lot of times you might read something which says this is not normal, but it's actually normal. So, babies or humans, we are carry mammals, which means we are wired physiologically to be always carried, to be always held, to be very, very close to our caregivers. That's how we are. Second, babies cannot self regulate themselves. You will hear this a lot, and this is very Western concept, which is like, and also very sleep training concept, which says that you can teach your baby to self soothe. But with studies, we know that you cannot teach that. And you will know this in front of your eyes when you see your baby crying. They cannot self soothe. They can handle stress, yes, depending on their characteristics, depending on their temperament. If you have a calm baby, they will be able to handle stress up to quite some time. For example, if you're putting them in the crib, they will be fine. They will not cry, and it. They will actually be playing and looking at you and all of that. Then you can say that, okay, this baby is able to handle this kind of, even though it's not stress but a new environment. Whereas if you have a sensitive baby and if you put them anywhere, they will cry out as if it's like really, really stressful, it's a danger for them, and that's how their temperament is. But in general, babies cannot self regulate. They can handle stress up to a level, but after that they need your support, and you need to make them calm down. They cannot calm down, and it's not just babies, it's even toddlers. um, wake up at nights. It is very, very normal for the longest time. That is like for the whole the first 6 months, it's extremely important because of something called SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. So babies are basically, again, physiologically, they're wired to wake up at the night to protect themselves. Because generally what happens with SIDS is a lot of babies, there's a lot of research, a lot of studies done where babies die in the sleep, and there's no reason to it why they do it, why it happens. There's still not reason, but there is of course a lot of, you will see that safe sleep practices and all of that. But the reason why baby wake up is important. They need that feed. The feed will help them to protect themselves. It will help with their brain development because their brain is growing a lot, a lot. And babies need sleep association. I know sleep association is considered like the worst thing, but they need it to fall asleep. Even adults need it. We also we all have some sort of sleep associations. The point is you can make the sleep association as easy for you, or you can do whatever works for your babies. And when the time comes when you say, okay, you know what, I have done it enough, I don't want to do it, you can change it. It's not end of the world. It's not like if you always feed your baby to sleep and then suddenly you don't want it. It's not like you have to keep doing it. Babies adapt, they will grow out of it. It's just you need some techniques to do it, but you can do it. And cry, baby cry. Baby cry is always a communication, always a communication. So if you take your baby inside the room and they suddenly cry, there is a reason why they're crying. It's just that you need to be a little curious of what could it be. It could be that they're overtired, which is generally what everyone thinks. But it could also be that they're not tired and they're telling you, please take me out. I don't want to sleep. I'm not sleepy. So it's really important to be open minded about it and not always think in the terms of overtiredness, because this is also something which is a lot talked about in the internet. And parents, I remember I was so scared of overtiredness as a new mom. And one of my twins just didn't need to sleep so much. And I would just always make him sleep. And he was just not ready to sleep. I would spend hours and hours making him sleep. And I'm sure he would be thinking, why is this crazy lady trying to make me sleep when I'm not sleepy? And sleeping through the night is quite, again, a milestone. And I know that it's important. It really feels very good when babies are sleeping through the night. But it's a developmental milestone. You cannot do anything to control that. No routines, no schedules, no feeding your baby a lot before sleep. All of this is myth. All of that. It will not happen that way. Your baby will sleep through the night when they're ready. But also, if just because if they sleep through the night one night doesn't mean they will always sleep through the night. My twins started sleeping through the night at around 13 months, and there are still some nights where they wake up. And because that's very normal, they're learning a lot of things, they're talking a lot, they dream a lot when they're sick. So there's so many things why sleeping through the night does not happen. And even if it happens, it's never linear. So please don't believe these kind of advertisement which says this will make your baby sleep through the night. Maybe it will, but not always. So remember, sleeping through the night is just never linear. Uh, I just want to talk about the temperament, and I think after that we can take the questions because temperament is important. Um, so, as a twin mom, we know that each of our twins are very, very different. They will have their own characteristics, and generally there are three characteristics or three temperaments which is found, which has been studied. One is called dandelions. It is based on the flowers. So one is dandelions. Dandelions are considered to be really robust, which means they don't have any specific needs. They're generally the calm, easy one. If you have different environments, suddenly they are easily able to adapt it. They're fine. They're fine with new people. They're fine with new changes. They're fine with loud environment. All of this, they'll be fine. They're very quick to adapt. And then there is orchids. Orchids are the ones, just like the orchid flower, they need very specific need, but which means if you're rocking them, they might need very specific way of rocking. And if you do it another way, they just don't like it. They might have a lot of issues with transitions, which means they're fine in the bath, but when you take them from the bath, they are just crying and crying and crying. They hate it. Diaper changes can be very hard with these babies. Travel, car rides can be really hard with these babies. They are always attached to you. If you just put them on the ground, even for playing, even during the wake time, they will not. They will not like it. They just don't like to be alone. It's as if they are like velcros to your body. And then tulips. Tulips are the ones who are generally in the between. They're a little bit sensitive to few things, but then they're also much calmer than orchids. So it's why temperament is so important is because you need to know your child's temperament. If you're trying to put your velcro baby, your sensitive baby to in a crib to make them sleep in the crib, I'm not saying you can't do that. You can, but please don't expect they will do that in 3 days, because there's just no way they will be doing that, because they hate it. They hate to be away from you. They hate the new environment. They don't like the crib. It's cold. It's hard. They just don't want to do that. And they cannot do it because of the way they are. They need a lot of help. You can do it, but you have to do everything, whatever you do, very, very, very slowly with these kind of babies. The dandelions, which is all like the calm, easy one, you can do anything with them, and they're very quick to, make these changes, take up these changes, and not have a huge reaction to these. So yeah, think I will take up the questions. Mhm. Yeah. Hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. I recommend that every family is very, very, very different, and you need to follow what works for your family. Um, and especially if you are in that age, your twins are in that age where they're waking up a lot because of just the age. It could be from this, the 6 months to 12 months can be really tricky because there's a lot of things going on. Generally, the newborn phase, you can always put them together and it's fine. They're all most of the time they're sleeping. But when it's like, especially after the fourth month regression, they start waking up a lot during the night. And if putting them together can actually make them more awake, I would separate them. Bonding just doesn't happen during the night or doesn't happen during the sleep. Some babies, some twins can actually sleep really better together, and you will know it. You will just see them. If you separate them, they will actually be more awake. So if you see that, put them together. But if you see that it's really getting hard for you, because it's not just always about the babies, it's also you, because you are the one who's taking care of them. You need to, I'm not saying you need 8 hours. I think there's no way we are going to get 8 hours of sleep, but at least a decent amount of sleep. Then if separating that helps, please do it. For your sanity, do it. It's okay. It doesn't happen. What I would say is, if you feel okay, you know what, I want them to sleep together, just have that kind of practice of being together, then do it for the naps. I would rather do it for naps and have disturbed naps than the night. The setup could be anything. If you're co-sleeping, then it's very simple. Have your beds. You can also use floor beds. Just put the mattress on the floor. Or if you're using cribs, then the twin. I think you have a twin crib. Yes, bassinets. So it just depends on each family. What works for you, please do it. There's no rule again to this. It really depends on each twins. I know some twins are they really like sleeping together and they sleep really well. But if it doesn't work for your twins, that's okay. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. I'll see. Okay, so Nupur has written, won't waking them up before that time make the babies more cranky through the day till their next nap time. Notice this with my babies. Yeah, so when you start doing this, of course, you will see a lot of changes. And that's okay because they are getting used to that, especially if they didn't have any standard wake up time. What I generally suggest is let's say every day is too different. Let's say if one day it's 8 a.m., one day it's 10 a.m., then try to put it somewhere in between. Let's say it could be 9:30. And then instead of going from 10 to 8:30, what you would do is just from 10 to 9:30, just half an hour before, instead of doing a big jump, I would slowly take them towards earlier bedtime. And I'm not saying, sorry, not bedtime, wake up. I'm not saying you have to wake them early, but what I'm saying is to have that kind of standard. So just look at your wake ups, and if it's like one day it's 8, one it's 10 o'clock, then just keep maybe 9:30 in the between. And then yes, they will be fussy. It's very normal. Distract them as much as you can and give them an early first nap time. That's okay. It will take maximum 1 week for that, just 1 week maximum. If they're really sleepy because they had really rough night, which means they were awake, not because they had multiple wake ups, but they were awake during the whole night or something like that, then yes, of course, it's fine. They might be sick. That's fine. They might be teething. All of that is fine. Those are the exceptions. Do whatever works for the baby. But generally, I would always have the standard wake up time. Give a earlier nap, that's okay, but do it slowly instead of going from 10 a.m. to 8 a.m. Do it slowly. You can just do it 15 minutes earlier, 9:45, and then come up to 9:30. Do it really, really slowly so that then 15 minutes wouldn't matter a lot. My baby, Shruti. My baby sleep only during breastfeeding. I want to change this. Please help. Tried multiple things. Um, I don't know how old. Okay. Is it her? Yes, she also wrote that they are 10 months old. Okay. Um, so generally with the habits, you need to stack more habits, which means if you're feeding them to sleep, try to maybe pat them or rock them or sing a lullaby or use a particular um, lullaby or a comfort toy, something like that. That's called habit stacking, where along with one habit, you're building up other habits, and then slowly you take up this, you take away the habit you want to take away, and then the other habits will stay. This takes time. It's a slow process, but it doesn't involve crying because they're used to the other sleep associations. And also the other way you can do is just shorten the feeding time. So if they need 10 minutes to fall asleep or 10 minutes of feeding to sleep, then maybe start with reducing it by just 1 minute, not a lot, just 1 minute. Time it and just unlatch them after 9 minutes, something like that. But the thing is, this could, for example, if you haven't told this, but sometimes what happens is it's really difficult, and some babies need to be latched all the time. Then it's not habits, it's sleep problem. Then you have to look at naps, you have to look at the wake windows, you have to look at what's happening, why are they need, because generally feeding to sleep is, yes, no, very very normal, but if they need to be latched the whole time, then it's a sleep problem, it's not habit. Okay, the next one is Nupur. How to make babies comfortable to sleep during travel. One of my babies used to sleeping only when we sway her or walk, and then she dream feeds. My baby's 11 months old during the travel. So, my general tip for the travel is do whatever works. So, if it's walk, generally in the flight, you can walk. You might have to use a baby carrier. And if you have a very distracted baby, kind of use, there is, I don't know, it does it have in every baby carrier, but the Ergo Baby has this kind of cloth which you can just attach it, and then, they cannot look out. So that helps. But if, for example, for example, if they're really distracted, they're really excited, I would just wait for some time. I would not immediately make them sleep. Also, what I generally do for travel is I will not make them sleep before the travel. So if you're going on a flight or a train, whatever, I will try to keep them awake before so that they're tired. And then once we are traveling, they're generally just sleeping because they're so tired. So that also works. And then okay, so she dream feeds. So yeah, you mean you she doesn't feed to sleep and then you have to do the other things. I get it. Sometimes, it's really hard because every baby has different habit to sleep, and with travel it can get a bit tricky. But then yeah. Soumya, my babies wake up at the time of diaper changing and won't sleep for 2 hours at least. He's 10 months old. Generally, this could. Okay, first question is do they need diaper changes? Because at 10 months, they might not need. Um, if they need because they will leak through and all of that, then and if they're awake for 2 hours, then it's not because of diaper change, or is it because the environment? Do you have bright lights when you're changing diapers and all of those things? Are you interacting with a lot and all of those things? So that could be environmental, or it could be just the sleep problem. It doesn't have to be this diaper change. It could be that they are either sleeping a lot during the day. They might not have high sleep pressure. Why high sleep pressure is important is it helps you to sleep, like not through the, I don't mean like through the night, but what I mean is through the night with wake ups and falling asleep immediately. Sabrine, my twins are 30 days old now. Oh wow. I hardly get 1 hour of sleep. Oh my God. When can this improve? Where at least I will get 3 to 4 hours. I remember those days. Also, it's very difficult to tandem feed them together and keep them on the same schedule. Sometimes they wake up one after another and sometimes together. Please give some tips. Okay. Okay. 30 days old. Yes. So you are in the thick of it. Okay. And what I would say is please take help. If you don't have help, hire help. You need help. And you need help. Yes, you have to feed the babies. I get that. See if someone else can make the baby sleep, especially at this age. Anyone can make baby sleep. You don't have to make your baby sleep all the time. At this age they're very, very flexible with anyone. They don't even realize all these things. So anyone can hold them and just walk around the room. They can hold them, sit on the sofa, the yoga ball, and bounce them to the sleep. And you need to also rest during the day. That means if you're and sleep doesn't just have to be you have to fall asleep. Even resting, just getting some time for yourself is extremely, extremely important, especially for your milk supply also. And with the tandem feeding, I know this whole twins thing where a lot of people talk about keeping them on the same schedule. My take is a bit different, and I know that I can tell this as a twin mom because I know it's important for them to be on the same schedule. But if it makes your life harder, please don't do it. Please keep them on whatever schedule they are, because it's very, very hard already with two babies. So, what I would do is just feed them one after another, because tandem feeding is very hard when they're newborns. They're very tiny, and you're learning how to feed, and you're doing it for two babies. So, please give yourself grace. And I would not, yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly. Yeah, correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point because even for me, when I was here, my midwife would always try to tell, oh, you should just tandem feed. I mean, it's not so easy. It's easy for someone to tell, but it's not so easy to do it, especially when they're also twins are so tiny. They're so tiny. You cannot even hold them properly, and they cannot navigate them. And it's really hard. So I wouldn't try to tandem feed them. I wouldn't try to keep them in the same schedule. If you want to still have the same schedule, give yourself 30 minutes of grace. That's okay. 30 minutes is fine. But yeah, try to make yourself really, really try to get help. Others can help you out here with diaper changes, with burping, with just holding them because they have to sleep. And believe me, this age is the best because, I mean, not the best. What I mean is, it's not the most best for you, but it's best because others can pitch in to help them sleep. You don't need to be there all the time. And that means asking for help. Please, please ask for help. And with the 3 to 4 hours of sleep, I'm sorry, it's really hard, I know, but it gets better. It will get better. It's 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 really hard time, I know. Shruti not latched the whole time. They just needed to fall asleep. Then I remove and they sleep fine. Yeah. So it's sometimes, I mean, see, it's for you. If you feel feeding to sleep is hard, for sure it's hard. I'm not gonna comment on that. But if you think right now, let me do this and maybe slowly change, habit stacking is best because it works. It works slowly. But if it's not something which is immediate thing you want, then I would do the habit stacking. To do a lot of more sleep associations, stack a lot of them so that when you remove the feeding part, it won't be hard. But remember that babies need help. So if you're not feeding, you have to still do something else. So and also a lot of parents want them, for us to pat them and they sleep. And I know it works, but it works a little bit older. Patting is the most or least um, support to sleep. That's the least, right? You're just patting your baby. It generally doesn't work for babies because babies need a lot more than that. But with age, for example, after a year or after 18 months, patting will work. But what I would say is don't go from feeding to patting because for them it's just too much. Like that's a lot of difference. Feeding is such a comfort thing, and then patting is nothing. So don't go from feeding to patting. I would say go from feeding to maybe hold them and then maybe rock them and then slowly go to the patting instead of just jumping to patting. Nupur, she gets easily distracted, and even when super tired, she resists sleep so much. I would also ask, how is she if when she's distracted? Is she happy or she's really, really fussy? That's the question you need to ask because if she's happy, I wouldn't do anything. Some babies just can't tolerate longer wake windows. They can do it. So I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't like convince them to sleep because if they are happy, they will not sleep because they're just so cheerful and just so excited. But if they are fussy, then yes, then there's a whole different problem. Nupur, is it possible to get over the habit of rocking the baby to sleep? It's so exhausting. Other babies sleep when they are patted on the back, but both my babies need to be held, walked around a little bit, and only when they sleep, whenever they wake up at night. Okay, so again, as I said, patting to back. See, babies need support. What kind of support depends on their temperament. Yeah. If they are very, very calm babies, of course, putting them, some babies, you put them in the, like one of my twins was like that, but only for the first 4 months. We used to just put him in his crib and awake. All this drowsy but awake would work for him. We just put him in the crib and he would fall asleep. We didn't even have to pat. We didn't even have to rock the crib, nothing. And the other one was exactly opposite. Even if we rocked him, he wouldn't sleep. He needed dark room, he needed sound machine, he needed rocking, he needed feeding. I have done all of them together at one point. So it's really, really the temperament of your child. I know rocking is hard. For sure, you can go away from that. And the answer is same. Habit stacking. Habit stacking works for any habit you want to stop. So basically, while you're rocking, try to pat their bum, try to sing a song for them, a particular song, same lullaby. Um, and when you're rocking them, instead of just stopping and saying, okay, I'm not rocking from now, when you're rocking them, just stop for a few seconds. And then again, when they're fussy, rock them again, stop it again for a few seconds. And this few seconds slowly start building up more and more and more. So just stop for 5 seconds and then 10 seconds and then 20 seconds. That's how you build up. And basically for them to realize that it's okay if they're not being rocked, they can also be held. But again, this also could mean that it might not be just a habit issue. It could also be a sleep issue, which means maybe they're not tired enough. Maybe they are too tired. Maybe they're getting a lot of daytime sleep. So that's a whole different thing. That's something you have to experiment. They don't have high sleep pressure, and that's why they need to be rocked. Sometimes what happens is, and that's the confusion a lot of parents have, that when you have like your babies are really want a certain habit and they need that habit for or like a long time, right? You have to rock them for a long time, you have to rock them every wake up and all of that. Then I would think maybe it's not just a habit thing, but it could also mean that maybe their sleep routines have to be changed. Renuka, one of my twins who's 2 years, 2 months old, still wakes up multiple times in the night and it's very inconsistent. Like, will be up in 2 hours of bedtime, then in the next 30 minutes, sleep for an hour, then keeps waking up every 30 minutes and it's exhausting. So, our sleep arrangement is one baby with me, one with my husband in separate rooms. When can we start sleeping in the same room? How to identify those signs and how to achieve? We have stopped night feeds. Okay, with the first question, 2 years, 2 months, wake up multiple times, will be up in 2 hours. Okay, this is something called like false starts, which means generally the first part of the night, they are very wakeful. And again, it could be a lot of reasons. That's the thing, it's very hard to pinpoint what exactly it could be. I can give you different reasons and you have to experiment. Um, it could be overtiredness, that is dysregulation, and they're so dysregulated that's why they're waking up and they need your help to make them fall asleep. It could also be not enough sleep pressure. That means maybe they need extending of sleep window, maybe later bedtime, and see how that goes. Maybe they are just not sleepy, and it could also mean they're having a lot of daytime sleep and they don't need that much. And maybe you need to cap the naps and then see if that works. And sometimes I know, like, generally after a certain age, twins are on the same schedule, but sometimes you also have to understand that their sleep needs can be very different. So if it's happening with one twin, that could mean that maybe that they are having some problems with sleep routine. It's generally with the routine that happens this way. And how can you put them there are no signs, honestly. I think this is like I me and my husband also sleep this way. One of my toddlers sleep with me, one of my toddlers sleep with my husband, separate rooms. And honestly, it's there's no science to it. It's a decision you make, and you can do it anytime what works for you. It's just that uh, at this age it's also easier, I'd say, because you can kind of prepare them. You can talk to them, if especially if their language development is good. You can actually tell them that they're going to have their own beds and they're going to sleep together, and maybe start with the naps together. If they are not having naps together, then if you're planning on a, I don't know what you're planning, like a new bed or something, then start having naps in the bed. And then you can slowly start with the bedtime there and then slowly build it up rather than just going. But always preparing this age, you always have to prepare them. And it actually makes things a lot easier at this age because you can prepare them. Okay, there's no more questions.